My motivation been kinda low. My best friend from Canada came to visit me last week and he slept over for a few days. When he left, I started to feel this weird, uncomfortable loneliness. We haven't seen each other for over a year, so there was tons of catching up. I hosted, I cooked for him, and just overall made sure he had fun while he was here. But going from doing a lot of things to suddenly being on my own again, it made the quietness in my apartment feel kind of eternal. It's almost like coming back from vacation and then you have to go back to your routine again. The thing is, I felt lonely, but I also didn't want to see anybody. I think I subconsciously knew that if I was to fill this void with just company again, the minute I part ways with these people, I'm gonna be right where I started. Sometimes you can't fill a void with the same thing that triggered it in the first place. Because I think in this situation, it would become a temporary solution. I needed to adapt and be on my own again and be okay with that because that's the situation that I'm in right now. I moved to a new city, I decided to live alone, and I need to learn how to be comfortable with that. The problem is, so far, there's nothing worse than being alone while being in a bad state of mind and having no distractions because the bad thoughts will always empower you and take over, at least for me. The other night, I decided to go to the movies by myself. Like I looked online and the movie was starting in 30 minutes. I needed some air, some stimulation. I hadn't left my apartment and I was suffocating. It's weird because when I looked around, people went with their friends, their significant other, family, and then there was me, alone. Cool. It kind of feels abnormal to be in that situation because it's not like a coffee shop where tons of people go there alone. Usually for movies, people go there with company, I think. So it kind of made me feel like a black sheep. But it kind of also made me feel like I was taking myself out on a date, which is rare. Like I forget that it's okay to reward myself like that. When I came back, I felt this really cool sense of accomplishment. Going to the movies was the right amount of distraction that I needed because for a few hours, I had to focus on something else other than myself. I think it's these acts of self-love that grows your sense of independence and in turn grows your confidence. It's recognizing that you can do really well when people are around, but that you can still manage being alone. That's one of the things that I had trouble with when I moved to LA, leaving my close friends and family. You know, I don't have a car. I also always had my dad to talk to. I basically always had people to rely or fall back on. My independent survival skills were weak. I didn't know how to be alone. So now I'm in the stage of my life where I'm trying to figure that out, I guess.
You know, I'm never going to make everybody like a song of mine, but if I can get everybody to agree that they've never heard a song like the thing that I'm making.
When I moved here, to be honest, I didn't really trust anybody. And I think the main reason was because I didn't really know myself. It's weird, but I wasn't too aware of my own habits and behavior. Like, I know the Jeffrey in Canada, but do I know the Jeffrey in LA? Because my whole environment is now different. Like, the way that I emotionally react to new experiences that I go through might be different than I expect. For example, a lot of people drink here. I didn't really drink a lot of alcohol when I was living with my family, so I needed to take things slow because I didn't know my tolerance. The last thing I want to do is meet somebody new and drink one too many glasses of wine, get drunk, and then act like a crazy person. I think it's fine to try something new and then go home and reevaluate if you like that thing or not. I didn't even know if I like drinking. Most people I've met had good intentions and are not here to hurt anybody. But the reality is, I also needed to protect myself. I also unfortunately met people that didn't have my best intentions. I think they took my kindness for weakness. Some people had ulterior motives and were really nice to me, but in the end, they just wanted something in return. In those moments, I don't really call them out because, well, we just met, but there's this uncomfortable energy about them that just make me want to back off a little bit. Maybe it's not the best way to handle these situations, but I also feel like I'm not really good at confrontation, especially not with people that I know doesn't have my best intentions. Sometimes there's certain people that have an energy that brings you discomfort and makes you more tired when you come home. The tough part is when you don't have a lot of friends to start off with, you essentially just go back to being alone. But in the past, I have stuck with people I know I didn't like just to not be lonely. And trust me, it's not always healthier. That looks so good. I've been really lucky in my life. I had loving parents and I met friends that were really supportive. I guess I had so much love growing up that I grew to believe that I deserved to be loved. A lot of the loneliness I feel right now is probably because I experienced the opposite. Like, I know what it feels like to not be lonely. And I think it's not a bad thing to recognize. Human beings are a tribal species, meaning that we operate better as a group. I think that's why we have governments or managers or people work in teams. Human beings always survive better when they collaborate. There's a quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. I believe that being around other people is one of the biggest reasons why I get to be challenged and grow as a person, whether it be physically, mentally, or spiritually. I think that's why there's this innate want in many of us to want other people's validation, because it makes us feel like we're capable of being part of a tribe, and in return, it increases our chances of survival, or at least the thought of being left behind is pretty scary. Like with social media, a lot of the times we post because we want to have other people's approval. I mean, I'm guilty of it. Like, I'm only sharing the highlights or the good part of my life. It often feels like the more I share that I'm doing good, it creates this weird illusion that people should be around me. Like, follow me, I know what I'm doing. But it's really so far from the truth. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. You know, the irony is that the people that I admire the most are people that admit that they're not perfect. That's what I love about the friends that I have back home. I learn so much from them, but they also don't shy away from asking me for my opinion when they don't know the answer to something. And yeah, sometimes to find people like that, it takes patience. Ooh. Ugh. I'm just gonna sit here for a little bit. You know, when I'm alone, I should just learn to be my own best friend. Like, I don't usually take baths, but this is actually pretty comfortable.